The following podcast is run by a couple of former wheel turners and one pit guy. It's meant for entertainment, not so much information, but sometimes there's some good information. The opinions expressed are just, these are the morons on the show. Not necessarily right, not necessarily wrong, not the views of any of the sponsors or anything like that. So, these guys, they're going to be talking, they might swear here and there, so if that offends you, either grow up or get a little permission from mom and dad.
All right, race fans, Ryan Aho, Coach Kraus, Bert Lehman, no longer making it rain in Shawano, by the way. Happy about Seymour. Shawano, he did. Seymour, he did not. But bringing you episode number 232, and I know you guys watching the show, you're like, holy shit, Aho's not in his truck. That's got to be a first. I'm even doing it on a computer today. Broke down, guys, in Pennsylvania, I think what Thursday or whatever it was. And I'm like, boy, do I get a rental car and go home? What do I fly home? And ended up the truck's finally done. We're doing the show. It's Monday night. We're doing the show. So I get to get back on the road. So I played some golf over the weekend, but I'm sitting in a hotel and hopefully got good Wi-Fi here because I haven't really used it. We'll see what happens. But episode number 232, boys, brought to you by Impact Health Sharing. So if you're in the market, if you're somebody out there that you're self-employed, maybe you're an employee somewhere and you don't have good healthcare coverage and you have a family, maybe you have a business and you have multiple employees, farmer, trucker, whatever it is. If you're paying for your own health insurance and you feel like, man, I'm paying way too much money, deductibles are too high, I got to go to a doctor that I don't really like because they're in network and I can't switch doctors, I might have a solution. Hit me up. My number is 218-969-1380. You can call me, you can text me, you can hit me up on Messenger, and I can give you a quote to a company called Impact Health Sharing, which is a great alternative to overpriced health insurance. And it's just been crazy how much people are paying significantly lower rates. I mean, we're talking half price, way lower on deductibles. Really good if you have a family, really good for that. But hit me up. I can get you a quote. I can get you the information. And if we can help you save some money, you can spend more money on racing stuff. And let's just face it, racing stuff's expensive. So you're going to need all that money to do fun stuff like that. So, boys, how'd your weekend go? Bert, you went to Seymour. You went to Outagamie Speedway. Shawano rained out. How was the weekend of racing over in eastern Wisconsin?
Yeah, I went to Seymour on Friday night. Racing at Seymour was superb. It was the first time I've been there this year, and late model feature was good, and the modified feature was the best of the night. They were racing 2 wide, pretty much all race, sometimes 3 wide. So very good night of racing there. Shawano got rained out. It was one of those deals where it was nice all day, but then it was getting dark. When I left for the races at 4, it was getting dark in the west, so I didn't have a good feeling, and it downpoured. I mean, they actually canceled it before it rained heavy, but once it started raining, it downpoured for at least 20 minutes or so. And 141, they got rained on during some of their features. And then Plymouth, they had late models there that night, and it started raining 6 laps into their feature. So those 2 tracks were able to get part of their program in, but not all the features.
Yeah, I flipped on Plymouth. I was going to watch the feature there, and they did everything they could. They put the late models first, and, I got to give a tip of the cap to them because what they're doing, unlike some tracks that I know, is they're just splitting the money across the board. And they're saying, look, you got all the heats in. It's a completed show. We're going to give even points in the Super 6 Series to everybody that showed up. And we're going to give even money to all the drivers that showed up. So that's all you can ask for. As a racer, you're getting something out of it. Rescheduling nowadays, guys, it's a nightmare. I mean, there's so much freaking racing. You almost have to just split the money because if you go ahead and you reschedule an event, 9 times out of 10, you're going to struggle because there's so many specials. You're going to schedule on top of somebody. Somebody's going to be pissed off. So what do you think, guys? I think that's the best thing. Just split the money in that situation and call it a day. What do you think?
I agree.
Coach Rouse is down there. He's not with us. He's kind of there, but we all know he's not really there. He's kind of in his own little world. He's hitting the head too many times with a puck.
I mean, the only time I would say reschedule is if it's a big special. I mean, try to reschedule it. But if it's just a regular week show or a show with increased purse, just split the money, split the points, and move along.
What kind of mods were them over at Outagamie? What sanction?
IMCA.
You get that, fucking Dan? I know you're listening. Man Bun Dan listening, crying, nonstop crying in our group chat. Oh, IMCA's terrible. Another good race. Beaver Dam was great just a few weeks back. Another good race. So, and me and Kraus watched one last night, a hell of an IMCA mod race. So it is what it is. Good race car drivers on good racetracks make good racing. Whether it's street stocks, late model, sprint cars, modifieds, whatever sanction, they can all be good. So, Coach Kraus, I don't know if I should give you a donkey chicken out award. Your vagina was bleeding. I'm not really sure, but you're talking a big game last week. Oh, I'm going to Aberdeen. I'm going to go to Brown County. I'm going to go win. In fact, I'm picking myself in the pick'ems in Brown County. And I don't know. You got an ankle monitor on or something? You can't leave the zip code. What's going on over there?
I'm not ruling that out. That's a strong possibility these days. You never know. So, no, it was just one of those deals. There's talking with my dad, and he couldn't go, and we decided, Blair and I decided to go golfing. I sent you pictures of Blair and I golfing, and then of course we get hammered with an inch of rain Saturday morning, and it soaked everything, and we were trying, and then the forecast was awful. This weather stuff sucks. It absolutely sucks. So we had to cancel again at Viking, just because with the weather that was there and coming through. So other than that, I watched a lot of racing. There's no doubt. I just about hopped in the truck and went to Ogilvie on Saturday. Man Bun Dan wussed out on me there. He was too busy. I said, hey, let's go to Ogilvie and watch. He didn't want to do that. So we just sat on the couch, watched a lot of racing, played a golf tournament yesterday. So getting out and about, just not racing. Yeah,
you're becoming the Alexandria version of Troy Powers, right? Super dedicated, loves racing, watches racing, just doesn't race. The difference is you have a car, he doesn't, right? So I'm not really sure. So I did get anonymous one here. I got an anonymous message here, a little fan feedback. We'll slide this one because it's relevant right now. Says, Coach mentioned last week on the show, and he said a few times, you got to get out, you got to support when tracks have specials, you got to get out, you got to support it. Because they're putting money on the line, they're trying to make it happen. And here's the deal. The message falls on deaf ears as, I don't know, he races like 8 times a year right now as a member of, he said the 100+ win club. I think it's probably 50 because I don't know how you can get 100 racing 4 times a year. And right now it's not looking like he supports anything. He just doesn't want to race. I don't know. He's getting old, washed up. Coach, you looking to retire here at the end of the year, or what are we doing?
No, it's called money, Ryan. And as well as I know, we don't. I race off sponsors and winnings, and when that money runs out, we're done. My wife and I put zero money into my racing program. You know that. I don't know if Bert knows that, but I told a lot of people that I race off sponsors and money. And my dad's not young anymore. He's 70. What is he? And he's 72 now. I'm getting up to 46, so we're getting old. So
you're calling Larry old. You're calling Larry old. That's bullshit. I think Larry's still a young guy. Now you're 100 talking shit about your dad.
He 100% is, but it's I want to, and that's why when I saw that post Terry Volts posted, try to get out and support, and that's why we thought about going, and just didn't work. So like I said, Ryan, you did your time, I did my time. You did more than your time. There's no doubt about that. On our shows you ran, and like I said, I ran 3 nights a week for about 10, 12 years and had a lot of fun doing it. So like I said, it's hard to do it. I think we're in the boat as a lot of people. I think it comes down to money right now. And times are tough right now for a lot of people. So you want to get out there and support and do what you can. And but the flip side is too, we're also promoting it, and we're also trying to tell people to go out there. We're not necessarily there, but at least someone's trying to spread the word and get it out there and say, hey, go support your tracks and do what you can. So I'd love to race more, and maybe it's in the maybe now that we had a bunch of rainouts, I've been thinking about doing it. So maybe we will, but it's also tough. You've been there too, Ryan, trying to run a racetrack too. It's a lot of work.
Yeah, I understand for sure. And he likes to give you a little shit, that's for sure. We want to see the 29 star in Victory Lane. I know somebody had a bold prediction a while back that Brian Dulciak's going to have a win before the 29 star. Well, little recap here from the weekend. He kind of sucked it up this weekend, to be honest with you. They went to Sycamore. I was going to go, but I'm stuck out here in PA. Dave went out there and another podium, just not a win yet. He's winless. So Dave got a first and a third on the night, actually got inside the leader for the lead. Yellow comes out and had a tough restart there, fell back to third and just didn't have enough at the end. Brian, on the other hand, boy, I tell you, so they time trial everywhere down there. And if you drop the ball in time trials, it's tough. And he time trialed like 11th. He started third row in the heat. He got 5th. He was buried in the feature. He got 7th. So just not a good night for the One to Go Show 83 camp down at Sycamore. We'll see what happens here Thursday night. They got the Hell Tour at Sycamore for their finale. I think the points are all done. It's wrapped up, but they got street stock. So we'll see if Dave can find Victory Lane this week. So what do you say we jump in to the top 5 stories of the week, brought to you by our friends over at Fastlane Motorsports in powder coating in Ashland, Wisconsin. So Chris and the gang over there, of course, they build the Galloper chassis. They do custom fabricating, powder coating, sandblasting. They sell parts. They service a lot of racetracks. I mean, if you name it, they do it when it comes to racing. And they're the proud sponsor of the #1 series in all of Wissota racing, which is the Fastlane Superstock series. So if you need anything racing related, give those guys a call over in Ashland, Wisconsin. Chris will take very good care of you over at Fastlane. All right, guys. Number 5, speaking of the Hell Tour, Turbo Tyler Erb rejuvenating his kind of lackluster career over the last 3 years here with his Fun Tour. So he decided, I'm dropping off the Lucas Tour earlier this year, decided he's going to pick and choose, ran the majority of the Hell Tour. And I tell you what, I mean, he did it right. He won a lot of races. He won 11 races. They had 5 separate weeks. He won 2 of the weeks, and he was the overall UMP Dirt Car Summer Nationals Hell Tour champion for 2024. Guys, how important was this to Turbo's like racing career, confidence, and everything to do what he just did?
Well, I mean, I don't know how important it was to his racing career. I guess we'll find out the rest of this year and next year. But I mean, it had to definitely do good for his confidence. You know, he wasn't winning on the national tour, so to go out and pick up 11 wins and win 2 of the weeks and be the overall champion, it's definitely got to be a confidence booster. And I mean, I didn't race, but you guys raced, and I would imagine that if you have confidence, that's half the battle right there, if not more than half the battle.
I've been at certain points in my racing career. I went out my rookie year in the mods, and we won a bunch of races, like 11 or 12 races my rookie year. And long story short, we come out next year, and my engine builder ran out of money, and every excuse under the sun. Let's just say that I ran all of the next year with an engine that I thought was freshened, that was not. That didn't work out very good. And then they changed my car, and they did some things to the stub, which I should have caught. They did not. And I couldn't hit my ass with either hand. And I got to the point, and I'm like, did I forget how to race? Like literally, I won a bunch of races. I won at Speed Weeks in Florida, and I can't like do anything at home. Like, what is going on? And that confidence just shakes your universe. It makes it, you don't even want to go racing anymore. Like, this is stupid. I might as well just sell everything. And then all of a sudden you get that little bit of a spark. And it doesn't matter if it's a little lighter schedule or whatever it is, but you start stacking some wins, and all of a sudden you start feeling a bit more confident. You drive different. Everything happens different. You ever experienced that in your racing career?
Yeah, absolutely. I was going through it right now, and I've been coaching hockey for 22 years at the junior level. You experience it monthly when you're coaching hockey. It's at anything. It's any sport. You know what I mean? I mean, you look at nobody gave the Kansas City Chiefs anything a chance to win this year, and they won it last. They're just confident right now. The Chiefs are. It's the number one reason why they won it this past year. So it's confidence is everything. I mean, you see it. I really see it now that I'm not, racing as much. Like Avery Anderson. He wins the other night. His confidence is through the roof right now, and all of a sudden he's starting to pick away podiums and he's picking away top fives on more consistent basis. So confidence is huge, and big weekend for Turbo. It's a really big weekend for Turbo. He's chasing the silver or something or whatever he said in his post. So this is going to be a big weekend for him to see how he can do against the big boys with the Silver Dollar Nationals and short tracks. It's a little boring. It's fast. It can be fast. It can be tight. It's going to be cool to see what he does this weekend, and he's definitely got confidence.
Well, the other thing I would say is this. So this past week, I mean, he won 4 of 5. I mean, the Hell Tour, at first I looked at the schedule and I'm like, they're going out to Michigan and they're going to Ohio. I mean, guys, they had 54 cars at Crystal. 54, right? So, I mean, they had big car counts out there, and he won 4 of 5, got second the other night, flat out dominated the final week here. In my mind, he made the Hell Tour relevant this year. Because without him even being there, it's like, I mean, there was a few nights he had a couple of guys, right? Winger popped in and Jason Fager was there. But to me, flipping the channel on, all of a sudden, bam, there's Turbo, that personality, somebody to watch. It just made it that much more relevant. And I tell you what, I bet he sold some swag here over the last month as well by being the guy on the tour. So hats off to Turbo Tyler Erb, and hopefully dirt late model racing is good when the personalities in dirt late model racing are relevant. And I don't know that there's a bigger personality in dirt late model racing right now than Turbo Tyler Erb. So let's jump into number 4. Another raw deal for Minnesota driver Jake Tim, your USMTS point leader. Night number 1, Mod Wars, Ogilvy. We'll talk a little bit more about Ogilvy in a second. Battling for actually in the lead, has an altercation with a lap car. In my eyes, it totally wasn't his fault. And I feel like sometimes they have the no fault and sometimes they don't. I really can't keep up with what they're doing. He gets sent tailback, in my mind, gets robbed of a win. Second time, in my opinion, this year he got robbed of a win. Did either of you watch Mod Wars, specifically night number 1, that altercation with Jake Tim?
I did see the altercation, and I had to watch that incident I actually watched it 4 times. I mean, I can see why they called it on him. I don't agree with it, but I can see why that call was made. But what I don't understand is the lap car, the guy, just let him get by you. You don't have to stay on the gas and run into him. It's not like you're battling for position.
Dan says it all the time. We said it in our in our group chats all the time. There's a hell of a race going on up front. That lap car is just not part of it. You can't be racing with the leaders. What are you doing? Right? I mean, that's that's a tough deal. If a lapper does something like that, Kraus, does the leader got to get his spot back in that situation? What do you think?
Yeah, 100%. It was a flat out horseshit call is what it was. It was completely I don't know if no one saw it or what happened. I don't know what the deal was, but it's like you said, man bun Dan, get the heck out of the way. You're the leader of the race, trying to get through lap traffic, and the guy was bouncing through the holes and all over the place. You got to give the leader the benefit of doubt there. You have to. You 100% have to. You know what I mean? So that's, like you said, Ryan, that's a couple now. It's came down on him, and I don't think he's gotten any calls the other way. So maybe there is something going on there. They gotta straighten that up, but got to get things right. Leader, lap car, give it to the leader. The majority of the time, you got to give the spot back to the leader.
Well, Rick sent us here a little fan feedback in relation to this, and he says, you know what? I'm not a big conspiracy guy, but I'm starting to think that the USMTS officials are trying to make it close because that's 2 wins that were essentially taken away. He'd probably have almost 100-point lead right now in the USMTS points. And right now he is 31 points only ahead of Jim Chisholm. Is it a conspiracy? Are they trying to keep it close? Are they kind of looking at it going, well, you know what, we'll call it on him? I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think there's something to that? Does he have a target on his back? I mean, I don't know. I mean, you wouldn't think that happens twice in the same year where we get that raw of a deal, in my opinion.
I don't think it's a conspiracy. But then again, you guys disagreed me on the Pierce thing. I mean, next thing you're going to tell me is that wrestling's fake. So I don't know.
Yeah, we all know it's not. I mean, it's definitely not. It's 100% entertainment is what it is. It's real. All right. So little recap, right? Little recap. And I'll ask you guys what stuck out to you from Ogilvy. But they had modified USMTS mods, WISSOTA Midwest mods, WISSOTA Mod 4s, and the USMTS night number 1 inheriting that win as a result of Jake Tim getting put to the back. Another Minnesota driver, Dan Ebert, parking in victory lane. And then Jake O'Neal kind of dominated night 2, night 3. Very silent. I think he had some health issues early in the year. I don't recall exactly what it was, and missed a good chunk at the beginning of the year, but he's starting to hit his stride. That 0 car could be very relevant, not necessarily in the points, but as far as winning races from this point forward in the USMTS season. So keep an eye on Jake O'Neal. Midwest Mods, Jason Vandekamp, Jake Smith, and David Swearingen. Now, the interesting thing, guys, night number 1, I don't know if you saw this. Did you happen to look through the results? Kraus, night 1, Midwest Mods at Ogilvy?
I didn't look through the results. I watched a race, but I never looked through the results real
Swearingen
thorough.
got 4th. Swearingen got 4th, and they teched after and failed post-race tech. Valve spring diameter. Like literally, it was 0.0, I think it was like 0.015 too big. And according to my sources, and I'm just a dumbass, right? I've talked to a few different people about this. The specs when you buy the valve springs, that falls within their specs, the specs that come from the manufacturer, but it does not fall within the little bit of a variance that WISSOTA gives you on the rules. I mean, it's a Tim's Automotive engine. I mean, let's just face it, 0.01, I think it was 0.015 or 0.0015, but extremely minute, didn't change a thing. And they said, well, it is what it is. He doesn't race for points, somehow paid the double fine, came back out, put their nose to the grindstone and got it done on night number 3. So good rebound there for Swearingen, but oh man, a rough deal. And I get it, a rule's a rule, but god dang, I mean, they got penalized. They lost to Northern Nationals one year because the gasket underneath the carb spacer, I mean, we're talking like they're paper thin, right? They're just tiny gaskets. He had a double gasket on there for whatever reason, and they ended up DQing him. Now, I'm here to tell you, if you go to the dyno and you check that out, I mean, when you compress that, I mean, it was so minute. I mean, we're talking just minute. So I don't know. It's the ticky-tack stuff. I mean, I get it. Rules are rules, but my goodness. I mean, what a tough break for him, but glad to see him rebound. Glad to see him find victory lane. And let's face it. I mean, we know he was cheating. We know he had a 406 underneath the hood. Just kidding. Just kidding. I mean, it was completely irrelevant. Didn't make a difference on the track, but raw deal nonetheless. Mod 4s, TB81, Tommy Bowden, Dustin Holtquist, and Tyler Larson getting it done in them. But what stuck out to me, guys, about this whole event, and me and Kraus, we talked about this at length. The grandstands were freaking empty. Empty. There was nobody there. A little bit better on Saturday night, but it was a ghost town on Thursday. Friday was a little bit better. I thought it was good racing, a little character in the track, so it kind of made them dicey, move around the track a little bit. What in the world is going on with, I mean, Mod Wars? It's USMTS Mods. It's a #1 mod touring series in the country. I mean, it is highly entertaining racing. where the hell was everybody? What's your thoughts?
Go ahead, Coach.
Well, I think the USMTS fans are sitting on their couch watching on racing dirt. There's no doubt about that. You know, and I just don't think there's a lot of, you know, the Wissota Mod fans up here are Wissota Mod fans. You know, they like seeing the Wissota guys, and there really wasn't a great turnout of Wissota guys there. I don't get it. I saw the crowd Thursday and Friday, and I'm like, oh God, you know what? They're going to have a really good crowd on Saturday. The place is probably going to be packed. It's kind of what, you know, 3 nights in a row is impossible to go to this day and age. And it wasn't. So I don't think there's any USMTS followers around here. I really don't. You know, I think if you ask a lot of the mod people around here who a Jim Chisholm was or a Jake O'Neal, I bet you a majority of people don't even know who they are. And I'm being serious. They're going to know Dan Ebert and things like that. But, you know, not, you know, Sabraski showed up just on Saturday. You know, I think that would have helped if he would have been there Thursday and Friday for the crowd. He's going to bring a following no matter where he goes. This really wasn't really, you know, Kane was there, but there really wasn't a real good local following there to bring in other fans. And then I just don't think the USMTS draws fans up here. I really don't. You just had the XR deal. You had the World late models here up in this area. You had you know what I mean? Maybe everybody was tapped out, and, you know, we went to the late model shows. The sprint cars were here a couple weeks ago before that. You know, now all of a sudden you bring in the USMTS, maybe everybody was already tapped out. So who knows? It was disappointing to see. Like you said, I thought for the most part the racing was pretty good. It didn't really have the wow factor like a Crown Jewel event did, but I think that had something to do with the atmosphere in the crowd. You know, like I said, I don't know. It's a tough deal. You think a USMTS show 3 days in a row, 11,000 to win would draw a big crowd on Saturday night.
You know, and what I've found is, I mean, I don't think there's any argument when it comes to dirt racing. The number one draw, period, across the board, World of Outlaw sprint cars. It's not close. They're packed every single night, everywhere they go, jam-packed. And then, I mean, we've seen high limit races, guys, where it's like, holy shit, there's nobody there on some of their weekday shows. Them are pretty light once in a while, which is kind of weird. But you look at late models, even like super late model racing across the board, some of the crown jewels, right? USA Nationals will be jam-packed, right? Prairie Dirt Classic, jam-packed. But a lot of the standalone shows, they don't really get all that great of crowds every night. Some of the XR stuff, I mean, the crowds are really light, right? And then you get into mods, and I don't think it's just here. I think it's across the country. You could have $100,000 to win mod show, and they did, and they had a really good crowd down in Mississippi Thunder. But did they have the crowd because it was mods, or did they have the crowd because of marquee names like Bobby Pierce, Ricky Thornton Jr., and some of these national touring late model guys? Would they have had that same crowd down there without those drivers?
I think they would have had less of a crowd. I mean, they probably would have had a fairly decent crowd just from the fact that it was the first year of the event. I mean, a big event, sometimes the first year it is really good, but then if you don't improve it every year, then the attendance tends to go down over time. But definitely having those late model drivers there helped with the attendance, in my opinion.
And I think
well, look at Beatrice last night, Ryan. You know, Ricky Thornton Jr. shows up. The place was packed. Now, it was a memorial race, and I get that. But Beatrice doesn't even race on Sunday nights. That's not even their regular night, and the place was jam-packed. And I guarantee you Ricky Thornton Jr. had something to do with that. You know,
and I got to be honest. I mean, it's not the racing. Because USMTS mod racing across the board is, in my opinion, highly entertaining. I really enjoy watching a good USMTS race. But it's marketing, right? Are they lacking in the marketing? They got to somehow, right? And they got to figure this out. And I think even on the local level, people got to figure this out. But somehow they got to take their top tier drivers, your Rodney Sanders, your Jake O'Neals, Jim Chisholm, Jake Tim, and they got to make these drivers somehow into a household name. And they've tried. They've had them, you know, I think they've done some shows. What was it, Dirt Nights or whatever, followed USMTS. And it's for whatever reason, it just hasn't caught on. And I don't know what that is. I don't know what the answer is, but somehow they gotta get more creative on marketing to make these drivers more of a household name and get that draw, because they deserve it. I mean, they put on a hell of a show, and they race for some pretty darn good money, and I'd love to see the crowds fill up at these racetracks. All right, guys. Number 3. A lot of big money shows in Wissota this past week, and I'm going to name off a few. I'll mention the winners of these races, and then I want you guys to tell me what was the biggest surprise to you. And we're going to talk more about one of these events in just a few minutes. So we'll kind of not focus on that one on this point, but I'm going to name off some of these events. You name off what was the biggest surprise. And if there's anything that stuck out to you from these events, because there's a couple notes here. So Grand Rapids Speedway, they had the prelude to the Tommy. They had the Tommy Waleski Memorial in Hibbing the night before the prelude to the Tommy. Skeeter Esty finding victory lane in the 37X in the late model. Red Cedar Speedway had the Dwayne Mader Memorial. AJ Demel getting it done. A little bit of controversy, drama, a little bit of news there. We'll talk about that. Hibbing Raceway had the Tommy Waleski Memorial, 11,111 to win. Shane Sabraski. Devil's Lake had the Golden Hammer, 5,000 to win NLRA late model show. The one TPO Tyler Peterson. Brown County Speedway, where Coach was supposed to go pay dirt and decided to let somebody else win. They had the Andy Daly Memorial over there. Mark Evelyn getting it done. Kind of a surprise. Miller Central, 1,000 to win Super Stocks the next night. Matt Johnson, career first win. He's been racing Supers now 6, 7, 8 years. First time in victory lane. Nice payday. Congratulations to him on that. And then they had night 2 of the Border Clash for the Midwest Mods, Gillette Thunder Speedway, Tony Liker getting it done. So out of those races, guys, your biggest surprise. Give me your biggest surprise. Coach, I'll start with you. Your biggest surprise out of those races, what was it?
Boy, that's a super tough one, but probably gonna have to go with Esty in Grand Rapids, just for the fact that he's obviously fast. There's no doubt about it. He's won in everything, but not quite. With the car he's got now, doesn't quite have the wins, and it was a pretty good field. Obviously with the people that were traveling up there and the things were going on. So I'm gonna have to go with Esty at Grand Rapids, just for the fact I think Sabraski can win. We all had Demel at Red Cedar. It's a great super stock race at Brown County. I wouldn't say it was a shocker. Trevor Nelson, I think, was 3rd or 4th, but with where the track was and things like that, those guys from out there win. I'm going to have to go with Esty at Grand Rapids.
And Provenzino had a hell of a show there too, 7th to 2nd. Actually got next to him at one point, and just kind of in lap traffic, he lost a little ground. But yeah, that was a good run. Good stacked field, 24 late models in attendance, and glad to see the good turnout there. So Skeeter Esty's your biggest surprise. Bert, your biggest surprise.
My biggest surprise, and I know why it was the way it was, because there was another big special on the same night, but the late model car count at the Mader race. It still had a good car count. But Seymour had more late models than the Mader Memorial had. And I understand why Red Cedar only had what it had, because it was, there's another big special up in Hibbing. So I'm sure some of those cars in Hibbing would have been at the Mader if they were on separate nights. So that's probably my biggest surprise.
Yeah, I think what they have, like 25, 26, somewhere in that neighborhood. And so that was definitely a big. I guess I wasn't overly surprised by that. Disappointed that the scheduling's tough, right? We give the promoters a ton of shit. We just do, but my God, it's like everybody wants to have their specials and all their classes, and there's only so many dates, and Mother Nature doesn't cooperate. And I'm surprised the Mader got in. It rains out every year, so I'm kind of surprised the race even happened. So there is that. I'm going to go super stocks. I got to. Over the last 3-4 years, you think super stock race in the state of South Dakota, you just write the check Trevor Nelson, it's over. It's done. He doesn't lose over there. It's not his year, guys. It's not his year. It's still fast, but it's not his year. He dominated the last 3-4 years over there. And for Abeline and Johnson to take the 2 wins at a couple of these bigger shows, and let's face it, it was a good race up front in Aberdeen. They had a pretty good racetrack over there, top 3 battling through lap traffic. Trevor Nelson can catch him even in lap traffic. It's like there's a race going on. He wasn't part of it. That was a surprise to me. I'm thinking in my mind, well, I'm going to pick him. Well, no, everybody's going to pick him in our pick'ems. I'm going to take Mike Stearns because he's the other sure bet, and he kind of had a rough night. But yeah, I would say the biggest surprise to me was Trevor Nelson not winning either one of those 2 races was a big surprise. So what are some other? We're gonna leave Hibbing for just a minute. We're gonna come back to that, okay? But let's touch on a couple of these events. We touched on Rapids, pretty good event overall. Red Cedar, right? Let's go to the Maiden. So little incident beginning of the race. Jesse Glenz, Nick Anveling battling for the lead, lap number 1, and Anveling cruising the high side, and Glenz threw it down underneath them, and contact made coming off of 4, and Glenz, you can tell, is doing the drifting, the Fast and the Furious shit and all that, because holy shit, what a save, right? We'll talk about, like, you make the call on did they make the right call, but needless to say, contact was made. He's backwards in front of the whole field in the middle of the front straightaway at Red Cedar. They got a head of steam. How he didn't freaking die is beyond me, because he was literally going backwards down the track, and I'm like, holy shit, did he do a good job keeping that thing as straight as he possibly could. A little contact at the end, a couple guys got tore up, but man, that could have been really ugly. Your guys' thoughts on that call? Was that the right call?
I don't know. I mean, I watched that a few times, and I guess what's the driver etiquette on? I mean, Glenn drifted up. I mean, Nick had to go somewhere. I don't know.
All right, Coach, we're gonna leave you. You're the racer in this one. You're Jesse Glenz. You poke it down underneath of him. You kind of slide up, squeeze him a little bit. Anveling's cruising the high side. Grab some track. The contact's made. Glenz goes around. If you're Glenz, are you thinking, holy shit, did I just get screwed? What's your thoughts on that? Was that the right call, wrong call, tough call? What do you think?
I believe it was the right call. You got to, Glenz, you got to take the lane away. Don't give the guy a chance to pass you back on the high side. You had a chance to clear him and get up there and block him. Make Anveling lift. Make him get in the back of you, because if Anveling gets into the back of you, the guy that gets into the back of you is going to the back. You know what I mean? He blew Glenz's door off on the high side. Yes, he was in the Roosters. Yes, he was sideways. Yes, I get all that. Well, at the end of the day, was it a racing deal? Yes, they have to make a call. It is what it is with Wissota. I thought the right call was made. I think Glenn should have got up in front of him and blocked him. I'm just, like I said, I'm just glad that, I think it was that 13 or somebody just about hit Glenn's driver's door. And if he would have hit him driver's door, oh boy, we would have had a nasty wreck, because he was wide open. So end of the day, I think the right call was made. I wish it wouldn't have happened that way, because I think that would have been a really good race. With those two would have still been up front. AJ was coming, and with the rest of those guys, that would have been heck of a battle.
I'm gonna go the other way. I think it was the wrong call. Racing deal. I mean, it's a tough call. I mean, especially in the moment, you got to make a call right then. It's like, holy shit, that happened fast. I got to see it 15 times, right? Definitely a racing deal. I mean, there was no malicious intent on anybody. There was just a racing deal. But I mean, Glenz was inside of him. He tried doing the clean thing of not, remember, he got a little grief from the MB camp for throwing slide jobs and doing all that. So he's like, I'm trying to be clean. And he kind of left him room, and Nick got around him, and it looked like he just hooked a little traction with the right rear in the car turn. I see Kraus making some funny late model feature must be going on. And it looked to me like he came down and caused that, but I don't know. I mean, it's a tough deal. I will say this, super impressed with Jesse Glenz on how he handled that on social media. Very professional. And let's face it, he wasn't happy, right? He has to feel like, man, I think I got the raw deal. But even he said in the deal, it's like, I don't know what the right call was there. I mean, he goes, it could have went either way. So, I mean, it was a tight deal, but I will give him tip of the cap for, let's face it, he's kind of had a rough go of it here the last couple of years, and you're up front in the Mater and you get a call, and it's very easy to jump on social media and be like, holy shit, I got screwed and this, that, and the other. Never did that. Very professional. So I got to give him kudos for that. But overall, Mater tracking down Nick Anvilink in lap traffic. And Bert, what did Nick do there? He panic a little bit, kind of. You don't see that very often from the 15. That is rare stuff from Nick Anvilink. He just lap traffic and AJ breathing down his neck a little too much, or what?
Well, AJ got on the outside of him, and Nick knew AJ was on the outside of him, and then that lap car, he was coming up on that lap car, so he tried to duck underneath, and he made some contact with him, and then there's contact in turn 3 with Ashley Anderson, and then Nick spun out. It was too bad that Nick spun out, because he would have had a good finish if he still would have had a top 3 finish. And, Nick's never won a feature at Red Cedar. So, he's won at Ashland, he's won at Cedar Lake, but he's never won at Red Cedar. So, it would have been cool to see him win, but, the finish in the top 3 would have still been good. But yeah, I think he panicked a little bit when he knew AJ was on the outside and he was coming up on that lap car, and
yeah, that one was painful. I'll just be honest. That was painful. I'm a Nick Anvilink fan, and I wanted to see him battle for the win, and I guarantee that bothered him, because he does not do that very often. But it is what it is. But hats off, Mater Memorial going off without really much of a hitch. Good racing, not a lot of drama. And congratulations, AJ Diemel, on getting it done over at the Red Cedar Speedway. All right, guys, number 2. 4 straight wins for the number 1 driver in dirt late model racing in World of Outlaw late model action. Will Bobby Pierce close up the 144-point deficit, the penalty he got for the tire deal earlier in the year? Right now, he is, let me take a look at this here. He is 134 points right now in third out of first place. So if he doesn't get penalized at 144, he's your point leader by 10. Okay. So that's telling you that he hasn't been extremely dominant, right? But he's been good. Now, let me ask you this. 4 straight wins, his first time ever doing that, absolutely been on a rail without blowing a couple engines. He probably has more than that. Is he going to win this deal? Can he catch 144 is a bunch of points with Brandon Sheppard being consistent, running up in the top 5 about every night. Without Sheppard having a complete meltdown, can Bobby Pierce catch him going into Charlotte in November?
No, I just think even if Pierce, stays hot like he is, I think as long as Sheppard just stays consistent like he's running now, and he's running better than he was earlier in the season, I don't think that Pierce can catch him.
Kraus?
He's catching him, Bert. So you better watch out. And the best part about it, it's going to come down to hopefully the last 3 nights in Charlotte. And we got a doozy, because the Charlotte show the last 3 years that we've had one. The sprint cars, I think 2 years ago, had Sweet and Gravel had still, but I think he clinched after night 1. We've had no points battles when you get down to Charlotte. It's not even any fun. You know what I mean? We want to have some points battles there. So I'm hoping the World Outlaws sprint car is looking like we may have one, and it's looking like we could have a 3-way battle in the late models too.
Yeah, as long as Hoffman remembers the scale after the heat race, he'd probably be up. There's a donkey award right there. Nick Hoffman, donkey award. You've been literally in this. It was the second night at the track, Sharon Speedway. He raced there the first night, goes the second night, wins the heat, does the scale. It's like, you shitting me? How's that happen? Like, I don't even understand, because you knew where it was from the day before. It's not like you're like, I don't know where it was. Unbelievable. But he is literally 52 points out of first, and Bobby Pierce is coming. So punch the buttons below. Let us know. Message us. What do you think? Is Pierce catching him? Is it going to happen? Is it going to take a monumental collapse by Brandon Sheppard? going to be hard to find out here in the next couple weeks, but she's going to be interesting come August, come September, come October. It's going to be fun. Now, Lucas Oil Dirt Late Model Series, the points deal right now, shaking up a little bit. But the big news, and just to kind of touch on last week, we didn't touch on this. We didn't do another show. We got the show out, but Hudson O'Neal, the SSI, RTJ goes to Kaler Motorsports. You guys surprised by that? Any surprises there?
Well, Hudson going to SSI is not a surprise. I mean, I read the story with the interview from the car owner, and I don't believe a word he said that, you know, that he didn't have this planned ahead of time. And then he said Hudson had to think about it before he decided to take the ride. I don't believe that for a second. But they got to do what they got to do. But yeah, it sounded like RTJ had a lot of offers to sift through and choose, and he felt like this was the best one. So he did pretty good his first night out. I mean, he struggled early, but he rebounded and got a decent finish. And I don't know how he's doing tonight. I know he won his heat race. I don't know how he's doing in the future.
What's going on there, Kraus? I know you're watching right now because you're not paying attention, but that's okay. What do we got going on? Feature out there?
Well, I think RTJ just messed up his front end trying to bangboard Hudson O'Neal out of the way. So those two are going at it for the lead.
We're gonna have to watch this, but we're gonna have to watch replay when it comes on Flow. That's for sure.
They were really going at it for the lead.
We should be watching this right now, like Kraus is doing, but we're gonna do our part. We'll watch it after the show. So don't tell us any more. We'll save it for that. But I will say this. Boy, Huddy got some hate mail. Huddy got, people call him, oh, the steal your deal, Hudson O'Neal, like this is bullshit, stealing his ride and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I got my thoughts, right? I mean, this whole deal come down. This is probably a planned deal, right? There's a lot to it, but is there any reason to be pissed off at Hudson O'Neal? Is there any reason, what's your guys' thoughts on this deal?
Well, I mean, fans are passionate. So when they feel that, their driver is being slighted, disrespected, they're going to voice their opinion about the other driver. And but I mean, that's one thing that makes race fans great is, they are passionate about who their favorite drivers are. As long as they don't go overboard and, actually do, physical things. It's I think this is going to create a great rivalry between those two drivers. RTJ is going to have a chip on his shoulder for Huddy, and as an example, apparently tonight when they're close racing, he's not going to give him an inch.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing this race now. I'm gonna definitely jump on as soon as that's the recording's up. But let's face it, Hudson O'Neal is more laid back, not quite as vocal, whatever, right? RTJ is a fucking die-hard racer. That dude is a racer, period, right? And my sources tell me dude's an asshole, right? And I'm not judging him for it because you can get Chonga on here, and I was a dickhead to my pit crew and everybody around me when I had a bad night. So I'm not judging. I was that guy because I was passionate. I wanted to win. And when things went great, that was fun to be around. When things went bad, just stay the hell away from me, right? And Dano, he knows. I mean, the people that were around me saw that. Well, that sounds like that was RTJ. Well, if he's kind of hard to work with and things ain't going right and he's kind of bitchy, and all of a sudden you got another talented guy come in, it's like, well, they're going to lean towards a guy that doesn't chew their ass every 5 minutes. I can see that, but so it's not wrong. It's not right. It's just, it is what it is. But I mean, holy shit, RTJ, over the last week, what are all the classes that he's raced? He's ran mods, stock cars, micros, USAC midgets, late models. I mean, holy shit. I mean, that dude is like the next version of Kyle Larson, maybe not as good. I mean, he's good, but he's not Kyle Larson good, but man, he's a racer.
Well, one thing in that article I read where they interviewed Burns, the car owner, I mean, he's been helping out Hudson O'Neal since he was 15 years old. And he said in the article that he considers Huddy like family. So, it's just, my personal opinion is he wanted Hudson O'Neal on his team more than he wanted RTJ, and Hudson was available. So he made the move. But I mean, obviously he's not going to fire RTJ unless he knows for sure Hudson's going to take the ride. So that's why I don't believe portions of the article as to how it went down.
Yeah, there's always you freaking people that write articles, Bert. I heard about you. I mean, partial truths, half truths. I get it. I mean, the politically correct stuff. We'll probably never know the whole story, but I think you're right on. I think that he wanted Huddy there, kind of family, and it just worked out. RTJ was like, I want to be the guy. Sorry, dude, you're not, because Hudson's my boy, and that's just the way that it worked out. So let's jump on. Let's jump on to number one. Number one moment of the week, and I'm going to be I'm biased, super biased on this one. I just am. This could possibly be the event of the year, in my opinion, or at least a candidate. So we've seen a lot of memorial races, a lot of tribute races, a lot of different things that go on, but holy shit, the Tom Waleski Memorial race at the Hibbing Raceway this past Friday night was an absolute, I mean, it was an A. It was a 10 across the board, on no stones left unturned. I mean, just absolutely unbelievable, the whole event. And it starts with, and I'm going to give mad props here to Jeff Provenzino, because he coordinated most of this, and the stuff that him, his brother Nick, his brother Joe, they all did. His son Cole made the trophy. That thing was badass. He donated the trophy. They had tribute cars there. There was a couple different, old Waleski body or cars with bodies on them, kind of as a tribute. I mean, everything from Mark Tremberth putting a cool little video together, kind of a tribute video. I mean, you name it. I mean, they had a fireworks show because it tied in with the city of Hibbing fireworks. The crowd, guys. That was the best crowd the Hibbing Raceway's had in a long time. That place was absolutely jam-packed. Everybody I talked to said the atmosphere was unbelievable, which is, I mean, that speaks volumes, because Provenzino's got High on the Hog barbecue, guys. And during the days leading into this, he's all, on the, different places with High on the Hog barbecue with the Tom Waleski car there, promoting this. He's been promoting this as, there's more than just him, but they've been promoting this for quite a while. They did a hell of a good job, and then you look at, the four wide salute and having the Waleski cars up front, but it all comes down to this. If you do all that extra stuff, you do all that cool stuff, and you got a great payout, right? 11,111 to win, 501 to start. You have all that going on, and if the racing sucks, it don't matter. If you did all that other stuff, it don't matter. Well, they had an intermission because of the fireworks. They had everything in. They were able to do some track prep before the features, and it was a banger. 41 lap feature, and inside of 5 to go, you had a hell of a battle up front between Shane Sabraski, Tyler Peterson, and the Hermantown Hammer Daryl Nelson. And I'm telling you right now, inside the last 3-4 laps, I was watching it live online on Dirt Race Central. I had no idea who's going to win that race. In my mind, that is a definition of a good race, when in the closing laps, you have no clue who's going to win. I had no idea who's going to win. And TPO was a little butthurt, right? Because he's battling for the lead, and Daryl kind of got over his right front trying to get underneath Shane, and contact was made and kind of screwed some. I would have been upset too. I get it. But he also made mad props that, hey, they did a great job with the show. I mean, he gets it. It's racing. But, Shane Sabraski, guys, made that car wide. Like, Daryl Nelson had some runs on the outside, and Sabraski used every inch of the racetrack as he should, racing for 11,111 to win. But I gotta say, between the Hibbing Raceway, the track prep crew, the Provenzino family, Waleski family, everybody involved with this program, that's a big tip of the cap. I am super, super happy that things went off so well at my home track, the Hibbing Raceway. Did you guys get a chance to watch that race on Friday night?
Yes, I did watch that. And, we hear a lot about, for Lucas and World of Outlaws about Race of the Year. And, this is potential for Race of the Year. Well, that race is definitely a contender for Race of the Year. you kept waiting for Sabraski to get past. I mean, he was leading and the other guys would get alongside of him, but they just couldn't make the pass. And you're right. On that last lap, Daryl Nelson wasn't going to let TPO get in his way. I mean, he just, there's a small hole there and he made it big enough for his car to fit through and in an effort to take the lead, but Sabraski was able to hold him off and it was a good victory for him.
Yeah, it was fun to watch. Kraus, you got a chance to watch that one as well, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. I texted you right away, and I said Daryl just cost both him and TPO a chance to win the race, and he did. You know, it's tough as a driver because you're like, oh, if I don't chop TPO, he's going to beat both of us. But I think Daryl should have just stayed to the high side in 1 and 2 because Shane was just pushing like a dump truck coming out of 2, and he said it right away. I said he was losing the front end of his car, and then I think Daryl could have thrown a haymaker in 3 and 4. And it would have been interesting to see what pans out, but really good race. Like Bert said, we're all waiting for the 7A to get past. And I think he even said that too. So it's good to see TPO supporting that show, you know, real good for him. And I know Searing was doing well and then he ended up pulling off, but tough group of guys up there, that Hibbing. You know that, Ryan, and I know you know that, Bert, too, just from hearsay. It's a tough group up there. You know, awesome to see the crowd and the big money. And like you said, when you put those shows on, you want it to come down to the last lap, and let alone not only have 2 guys going at it, we had 3 guys going at it.
Yeah, that was a fun one for sure. So now let's jump into a little fan feedback here, brought to you by our friend Nick Hoff at Hard Charger Performance Specialties out in Sydney, Montana. He's been building race engines for over 20 years, everything from street stocks to late models, everything in between. Doesn't just do engines. He does a whole lot more, gears, you name it. He does a lot of different stuff at Hard Charger Performance Specialties. He has a dyno right there in Sydney. There's not another dyno close. I mean, anywhere close. So if you're looking for some dyno time, you can definitely get a hold of him. If you have a Wasota crate motor, you need it fixed because it's a crate motor and they need fixed. He's the guy that does that. He's certified to fix the crate motors for Wasota, but a great guy, builds a great piece and super easy to get along with. That's Nick Hoff, Hard Charger Performance Specialties. Get a hold of them at 406-478-4437. So I got one here from Pete. So Bobby Pierce been dominant. He's been really good. I mean, literally, when we look at like picking, even making our picks for the World of Outlaw races, especially the standalone ones, he's the guy. I mean, he's kind of clear number 1. Will Bobby Pierce's dominance in World of Outlaws affect fan attendance in the standalone events when the Lucas Oil has something going on? So not like USA Nationals where they're going to get all of them, but in the World of Outlaw events where Lucas guys are somewhere else and it's just the Woo guys, is his dominance going to be a negative and affect attendance? Your thoughts?
I don't think it'll be a negative. I mean, yeah, you like to have some diversity, you know, amongst the winners, but also if there's a driver really hot, you want to go to the track and see if the other drivers can beat that driver. So I don't think it should have any impact on the attendance.
Coach?
No, Bert's right. He's hit the nail on the head. Do you want to see somebody try to upset him? A lot of times standalone events are, you know, they're only at that track for once a year. And everybody's excited to go to that event. So they're going to go and show up. And hey, is it good or it's bad? He's just dominant right now. He just flat out is. So hopefully we can get a couple more guys up there. You know, Bishop's getting faster. He's still got another step to go. Hoffman's super inconsistent. Gustin's super inconsistent. Dennis Erb Jr. is starting to show a little speed now. Maybe he can get up there, but no, I don't think it's going to hurt the attendance no matter what, because it's still Bobby Pierce and he's still the fastest guy around.
Gustin had a good week last week. He had 3 thirds, so 3 podiums for Gustin. So kind of getting a little bit more consistent as we go, but I got to agree with you, especially the national scene, that they're going to bring the people that they bring. I will segue that off another question I'm going to give you guys here is on a local level. You see a lot of local tracks that car counts are pretty light, 8, 9, 10 cars in a lot of classes. And a lot of times they have one guy that's clearly dominant in that class with light car counts. Does that affect attendance more than it does on the national scene when you basically got 4 classes that have 9 cars and you kind of know who's going to win? Is that keeping people home on a weekly basis?
I mean, I would say that would have more of an impact of keeping people home than, on the national level, Bobby Pierce having a really, really good season. On a local level, you don't necessarily mind seeing the same driver win all the time if there's competition, but if there's only 8, 9 cars and, the same guy's winning all the time, then it's not as exciting.
Exciting for their fans, but nobody
else.
Yeah. All right. I got another one here from Josh. And I said, and he's a fan of one of the local Wissota tracks, and he didn't go. I'm like, well, where were you? You weren't going. He's like, well, these people don't update their websites. I don't know who's even going to be there. I'm like, what's that have to do with it? Right. So we got into having a conversation, and he said, should drivers, local or national, be obligated to update their social media and websites to be letting their fans know where they're going to be?
Well, I mean, obligated is, what do you mean by obligated?
I mean exactly what I said. Okay. I mean, we know it's a convenience to us when they do it. It's like, okay, cool. We know who's going to go, but should they be obligated to do that? Does a fan have a right to be upset? They're going, well, shit, they got social media. They have a racing page. They got a website. Why don't they update it? Right. Do fans have a right to be upset when they're not updating it, letting people know where they're going to be?
I maybe peeved, but not upset. But my thing is, if you have a website or if you have a Facebook page that is just for your racing, the driver should update it frequently. I mean, weekly would be preferable, so fans do know where they're going. But I mean, to say they're obligated to do it, that won't go that far.
Coach, what's your thoughts on this topic here?
Well, the national guys, they got paid guys that do that. So you don't have to worry about them. They're all updated. Local guys can be tough, man. You know what I mean? Ryan, if you're trucking all week and you get back to the shop Friday and grab the hauler and go, sometimes you just don't got time to do it. You know what I mean? It's a tough deal, but this day and age with social media, maybe you have to, maybe you got to say, hey, who's going to, I don't know. I just can't picture it. Who's going to I-94? Who's going to Viking this week? Who's going to Sycamore? You know what I mean? Who's going to Eastern Wisconsin out to Plymouth or Shawano? You know what I mean? That's a super tough call. I don't think fans are really getting into it that much. National scene, yeah, we do it all the time. We're looking at who's going where and what, but I think it's super tough for local guys. It'd be nice. It'd be 100% nice if everybody did it. I think it helped the sport. There's no doubt it helped the sport. If everybody was doing it, and I don't know, is the fans' attendance going to pick up? I don't know, but I think it helped. I definitely would think it helped get fans of the track if you knew TPO was coming to Viking Speedway, or TPO was going to Hibbing, or Sobraski's going to South Dakota. You know what I mean? Or Searing's going over here. Sammy Mars is going over there. I think that'd help a little bit, but that's a good question. Super tough question. But locally, it's super tough to get everybody to do it locally.
That can work the opposite way also. Because I'll just give an example. Nick Avalink at Shawano Speedway. He has a huge fan following at Shawano Speedway. When he doesn't race Shawano Speedway, those fans don't go. His diehard fans do not go to the races. So if they know that he's not going to be at Shawano Speedway, they won't go to the track then.
Yeah, that's definitely true too. I mean, you take the Daryl Nelson fan club up in Proctor. If they all know Daryl's not going, that's 50 people not going to Proctor, right? So I mean, you're right. But the flip side of this whole thing is, and I get it. You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube, right? I get it. But I miss the days to when Labor Day shootout coming to Hibbing Saturday, Sunday, Silver 1000 was on a Thursday, and on Friday night, I'm like, Mom, we got to go for a ride. right? I'm talking like I'm 10 years old. I'm like, Mom, we got to go for a ride. She's like, I'm not going for a ride. I'm like, Mom, let's go for a ride. Well, I always won. Mom took me for a ride because she loved me. I'm her favorite, right? And what we would do back in the day, right? Back before social media and the internet and everybody knowing who's going to be where, we'd literally, it was part of the Labor Day shootout for me as a kid, is we'd jump in the car and we'd go to Hibbing and we'd go to all the hotels and we'd go drive through the campground at the track and the Chisholm hotels, right? And we'd look to see, holy shit, this guy's here. Wow, MJ McBride's here. Wow, yeah, Kreiderman's here. Jeff Helgett's here, right? And you'd be kind of driving through there, and it was kind of like the allure of going, ooh, who's going to be there? And that part of it's gone, but I mean, it is what it is with social media. But man, I just miss that a lot.
Well, one thing I did as a kid, my grandma lived in a town called Clintonville, which to get from the New London area where there's a lot of drivers of Fox Valley, you had to drive through Clintonville to get to Shawano. So we'd always go eat at A&W, and normally we would sit on one side of the building, but during the summer I would make them sit on the other side of the building by the windows that you could watch the roadway, so I could watch the race cars drive by.
Yeah, them days are long past, but they were a lot of fun. All right. What is the most, this one comes from Dustin. What is the most drivers you've ever seen in a given night be disqualified at a single event?
I don't know. I don't know the number, but I would have to say it was always at the Wissota 100, because you'd always hear, so-and-so got DQ'd because of wheelbase, or, so-and-so got DQ'd for this. I don't know how many cars though.
Chateau Speedway this past Friday night, 15 cars disqualified in heat races. 15. Okay, now I'm like, how the hell? Well, literally over half of them, okay, they're on the front sail panels, the A-pillars on the roof post. You got to have the, like spec and then your weight. You got to have your car weight listed on there. Well, several of them got DQ'd because they had the sticker on one side but not on the other. Because the scale guy was too lazy to walk around and be like, okay, car weighs this. It's a convenience deal. Instead of going, hey, fix this shit for the feature, just write it with a marker on the other side of the car. We give Wissota tech officials shit. This is a USRA deal, right? Literally mind-boggling that you're going to disqualify that many cars because they didn't have the weight. Not that they were light, they just didn't have the weight written or stickered up on the right side of the car. How ridiculous is that, Kraus?
Oh, it's bad. I actually had to do it when I ran that streeter for a year. I run Vikings, so you're always on the driver's side. Then all of a sudden you get to a scale at Wilmer. Well, you got to have it on the other side too. You got to have it say concept 3200. You got to have concept on both sides of the deal. So again, Ryan, it's common sense. Please give the guy one warning. You got 1 week to put it on there, and you don't come back next week. Then you're going to get a donkey ward, and you're going to get DQ'd for not putting it on there. So these common sense things, please just tell the driver, hey, first and second off, it's July. Okay. So if that tech guy hasn't told you by now or said something, and I get, it's bodies, rewrapping things happen. You know what I mean? So if they got it on one side, it should be fine. Please give them a warning, and tell them to get it fixed before you come back next week. It's pretty simple. You make everybody happy. Now you just pissed one guy off. Now look what this has done. It's exploded through social media. Other people have been hearing it. They're not going to go back to that track. All you had to do is say, get it fixed for next week. Nobody's ever going to know. No one's ever going to know. And you're going back next week and everybody's happy. It's common sense.
This is another example, right, of these fucking tech guys, right? And some of them I like. Some of these tech guys I like. I actually do like some of these tech guys, but holy shit, right? It's like, understand this. Teching is to make an equal playing field. It shouldn't be ooh, I gotcha. Ooh, I got him. Ooh, I got him. And this is another example of nitpicky nonsense, not even with soda related here, where it's just completely unnecessary to disqualify that many people and upset the apple cart and piss everybody off. Just give them a warning. Let common sense kind of fit into the equation here. And I get it. Common sense is pretty uncommon when it goes to the teching world. It just is what it is. All right, got another one here from Jeff, and this is in response. Last week we talked about, for example, the XR race a couple weeks back. I mean, there was no cars. Like, where's the cars? Why? You look at a lot of these specials. I mean, low 30s for a 10,000 to win mod race. Like the car counts aren't what they were at one point. Why is that? And he's like, I got a list of things he said. So he said, number one, there's just too many races. We've talked about that. I mean, there just is. I mean, people have a pretty finite amount of money and they kind of pick and choose. A lot of racers, most racers typically race 2 nights a week. So even if, right, you take Daryl Nelson got his night and he went to Hibbing, right? And then he skipped Proctor on Sunday, 5 minutes from the house. They're only going to race so many times a week. That's just kind of the way it is. There's not many racers out there that were like me back in the day, racing every single possible show they could because things are just too expensive now. Pit crews. It is super hard to find help. I mean, back in the day when I first started, I think it was like $15 to get in the pits. Now it's 30, sometimes 35, sometimes 40 at a special. Well, Kraus, you talked about it. You race on a pretty limited budget that you have. Well, I mean, if you're racing 4 nights a week, you got to pay your pit guys way in every night. You're out of money pretty darn fast, right? So, I mean, we'd like to pay our pit guys way in when we can. I mean, I didn't do it very often because I didn't have any money. I wish I could have paid their way in all the time, but you simply couldn't. Well, how many races you take Blair? I mean, if you wanted to race 4 nights a week, well, that's $30. That's $120 out of his pocket to go work on a race car and watch 3 races a night. So pretty tough to find pit guys that are going to spend that kind of money to go. Now the amount of money, right? You look at the dollar. You take $100 bill today, $100 bill 20 years ago, same thing. The difference is that $100 bill today will pay for about 1/8 of what it paid for 20 years ago. That's just the facts. That is what it is. So the value of the dollar is significantly less. Well, guess what? The cost of everything has gone up, right? I mean, life, groceries, fuel, insurances, rent, mortgages, homes, vehicles, race tires, race gas, you name it. Everything's gone way up. But the purse has stayed the same and in some cases less. Well, that's a big, big variance when you're paying way more and you're getting paid the same. I mean, people just don't have money to go. So the costs are up, pay staying the same. There's a lot of different reasons. Kraus, what is in your mind out of all these things, the number one contributing factor to low car counts?
I think it's the travel expenses. I really do. Like you said, Ryan, you stop at the gas pump. Just about everybody's got generators and enclosed trailers and diesel. And then, like you said, you get on the road and bring 3-4 guys with you. And like I said, a lot of drivers pay their own way guys to get in. That's $120 and new tires and the cost that they haven't paid anything more to win. So you get on the road, you're losing money even if you do win at some of these places. I really think that's a big contributing factor. As people are looking at here going, drivers are getting a little bit smarter, going, God, it's $300 to win. Well, it's going to cost me $450 to get there. That doesn't really make a whole heck of a lot of sense, does it? So I just think the travel expenses right now with everything, and now you're throwing in food. Darn well as you come down to my hauler, you're getting Mountain Dew and water. That stuff's gone up. You know what I mean? It's just everything has gone up. So I think it's the travel expenses right now is what's killing people.
Well, back in the day, I ran Wilmer pretty much weekly. And if I went from Chisholm, Minnesota to Wilmer, and then I went to, say, Superior on a Friday night, if I won the feature, I'd break even in a super stock. It was like $300, $350, somewhere in that neighborhood to win. Now, I did the math on this multiple different times. If I did that exact same thing and I won with exactly the same expenses, right, I would lose $200 if I won the feature. Well, who's going to do that? You better have a big bankroll behind you to do that. So I think track's got to really focus on what do we have to do to build that racing community within a 20-mile radius, and how do we build that racing, that whole racing community at home, and not have to rely so much on the out of town racers because people just can't afford to travel anymore. So Jeff, thanks for that. Very good points there. And the last one here I got from Brent. Speaking of building within home, guys, Hibbing gets on average over 20 Hornets a night. Pretty good. I think they had 23. So they got a pretty good car count. They're doing a pretty good job with that up there. But Wissota kind of come out, they're kind of getting a little nitpicky here with some of the rules. And I found out, remember, I think I talked about last week, they're going to start DQing people if they don't have their power steering hooked up. Remember, we talked about that? Well, come to find out, there's a little bit more to that story. The aftermarket cams, and that's one way to tech for aftermarket cams, they don't have the hookup on the back of the cam for power steering. So kind of a tell is if they don't have the power steering on, they might have an aftermarket cam in, and that's kind of one of the reasons they're looking at it. But the question I have is this: enduro racing up at the Grand Rapids Speedway, the fan count, guys, is double of what it is at any race throughout the year. I'm talking Wissota Classic, all of them. Any special, the enduro fan base is double. Their rules are you put your safety shit in and you go race. They don't have you got people there with 4 cylinders, with V8s, with souped up engines, with everything in between. You go do your thing. They're not teching engines at this deal and making sure you got the right cam and this, that, and the other. Should there even be any rules on these starter classes other than safety? Should there even be rules?
I think you have to have some rules for the starter classes just to make sure everybody's on an even playing field. Because somebody's going to spend the money to soup up their engine, and they're going to be winning. We talked about watching the same driver winning all the time, and that's what you're going to get. You have to have some sort of motor rules at least, but make them minimal. And I agree, don't have a lot of rules, but you have to have some rules, otherwise it's going to get out of control. Now, you mentioned enduro racing. I don't know. We have enduro racing over here, and I'm not sure if this is a rule anymore, but I know at least the winner, if not the top 3, the series buys your car after the race. You have to give up your car.
Yeah, that's not the case in Rapids for sure. Huh, interesting. So the limiting factor, right? They get paid like $100 to win. That's what they get paid to win. Well, if you want to go spend $8,000 on a Hornet to make $100, you're just kind of a dumbass, right? That's just kind of how it is. You're an idiot at that point. So I don't know. People are going to spend whatever to go fast. It is what it is. But I don't know. People get resourceful. That's kind of the biggest drama right now in the Wissota racing world in the teching department is Hornets, because they're so hard to tech. There's so many different variances of different cars. It's a nightmare right now. Maybe is there a different alternative, right? Instead of just nonstop over teching them, they're like, oh, you got to have the right gear ratio. When I was running a starter class back in the day in the hobby stock, they didn't worry about gear ratio. You could, as long as it was a GM rear end and a GM transmission, who gives a shit? Do whatever gear ratio you want. Now they're worried about gear ratios and transmissions. It's like, who gives a shit? If they can go to the junkyard, get this stuff, who cares? Let them race. Quit worrying about it. And if somebody gets to the point where they're just massively faster than everybody, well, then maybe do a little something, to kind of slow that person down, figure something out at that point. But man, I don't know. I think they're kind of fun killing this whole deal, right? With overteching these starter classes and making it a headache for everybody. Kraus, do you any alternatives on your thoughts there that they could do different rather than just a whole bunch of rules and teching them like crazy?
Yeah, I don't know if there's a way to restrict them, or you know what I mean? I don't know. Like, there's only so much you can do to a Hornet, correct? You know what I mean? Unless This a guy comes out there with a Fast and Furious something, and it's completely out of this world, and he's got NOS and flames coming out of the pipe. That, I mean, but you're talking thousands and tens and thousands of dollars there. So, like you said, you're paying him $100 to win. But on the flip side, like Bert said, someone's going to do it. Some dipshit out there is going to build a $30,000 Hornet and come out there and smoke everybody for $100 and feel good about it. Someone's going to do it. Okay, so it's a tough deal. What's going on right now is it's terrible. Hornet car counts down this way. We haven't raced in 2 weeks, but absolutely been 6, 7, 8, 9, 5, 4, 6. I mean, obviously the mafia hasn't got up to the Gestapo hasn't got up to Hibbing yet. They haven't showed up there yet with their Hornet car count. So, but you're killing the starter class. You 100% are. They got guys that don't even want to come. A lot of those guys are the future of the racing, and you're going to drive them away. So something needs to be done. I don't know what it is. Something I need to look into a little bit harder going into the off season here and figure out what can we do for this class. Because like I said, it's when we went to the short trackers and it's taken off. We got a lot of guys building them down here, but now they're all getting pissed off. So something needs to be done. And we just got to make sure we make the right decision and keep a good, cheap starter class out there, reasonable. So we have to get people involved in the racing, and there's a lot of people getting involved in the Hornet. So we have to make sure we do something right here.
And not only are those drivers the future of your class, and Coach, you may experience this as a promoter, but from a track standpoint, you don't pay them much. So you want as many of those cars there as you can get, because that helps the track financially. And, if they bring a few crew members with them,
I've heard, and I've had several people bring this up, maybe an alternative to this deal, because you don't pay them nothing. They get $100 to win. Maybe just pay. I mean, you think motocross, you think snowcross, you think they don't even pay, right? So just pay everybody $50. You make the feature, you get $50, you race for a trophy. I mean, do something like that. And if you're cheating, it's like, well, again, you get paid the same as the guy that got 18. So you're just dumb at that point. But I don't know. There's got to be a better way. Overteching this deal and killing the car counts, I'd rather take a chance of letting them do whatever they want and having 25 cars rather than overteching them, pissing everybody off and making everybody quit. That's just my opinion. All right, guys, rapid fire here. Touched on a lot already. I know you guys have a few things that maybe come to mind that maybe we didn't touch on yet. You want some shout outs, whatever it may be. But first, a quick shout out to Daytona 1 Performance Specialties. Buck, of course, the founder of Daytona 1, super intelligent in the lubricants industry, in the Hall of Fame for NASA, specifically for lubricants. A lot of great products out there. You can check them out on Facebook. You can check them out online. A lot of different stuff in oils and lubricants and greases. And I mean, you name it, they have it. One thing they're super proud of is their tire treatment. They have a tire cleaner. They have tire treatment. Their passion is simply looking at the numbers going, holy shit, drivers can't spend $200 a night on tires. That's just not a thing. How can we make these tires last longer? They have some products, and you're going to want to do your research to make sure it's something that you're comfortable with doing. But the fact is, give Chad a call. His number 507-828-3536 and learn about all the great products. And if you're a track promoter, if you're on the tech committee or whatever, take some time to get educated, right, on these products and find out maybe this is something that's an alternative to the crazy cost of what tires are going to be in the not so distant future. We got to do something there. This might be the answer. So Daytona 1 Performance Specialties. All right, guys. We're going to start with you, Bert. Rapid fire. I know you have a couple shout outs. And then at the end of that, give us your, we're not going to do individually hot, not, or whatever, but give us your rapid fire. And at the end of that, give us somebody that you think that is just red hot, we need to keep an eye on, and somebody that needs to get their shit together.
Well, shout out to Jaden Schmidt, late model driver. He also races modifieds, but this is his second year racing late models, and he won the late model feature at Autogaming Speedway last Friday night, his first ever late model feature win. He was pretty excited. He was gunning the engine on his victory lap because at Seymour, they actually give him a checkered flag, and the feature winners get to do a lap with the checkered flag. So not a lot of tracks do that anymore. So that was fun to see the excitement after he won the race. And Troy Springborn, he's won 2 features at Shawano, the last 2 features at Shawano. He had a top 3, I believe a top 3 finish at Seymour. So he's still doing well. This is asphalt racing, but it's got some dirt flair to it, and it's about getting disqualified. We talk about that a lot. The Slinger Nationals were held last week at Slinger Speedway in Wisconsin, and 20,000 to win race, and the winner got DQ'd because his roof height was too low. My understanding is based on information the track released. The driver came to the track and the roof height where they measure it was 1.25 inches too low. So the crew, braced it up or whatever. And the thing is, he got DQ'd twice because he didn't scale after his qualifying run. So then he had to run, an extra race. So then he ran that race and got into the feature, and he battled from the back of the feature and won the race, only to get DQ'd later. So the win went to Brad Miller, who races dirt late models also. And he's been trying to win that race for like 25 years. So as he said, his quote, I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but he said, I hate to win it this way, but a rule's a fucking rule, he said.
And boy, oh boy, I mean, I wouldn't give it back, but
well, the
DQ for body rules, and I get it. I mean, and all that stuff, but Slinger's kind of a bull ring, isn't it?
It's a high bank quarter-mile asphalt track. Yeah. The thing is, I kind of roll my eyes with any DQ that happens there, because a few years ago, William Bryan, the NASCAR driver, raced there. He won the feature. After the race in Tech, he was found to have an aluminum bumper on the car, which is illegal. And the track owner said normally that's inspected before the race, and if that's found, then that driver's required to race enough, add 25 pounds to the car. And since he weighed 25 pounds over what the minimum weight is, they let him keep the victory. So that's why I just kind of roll my eyes with DQs, because it's like, okay, you let that one go, but you're not going to let this one go.
Guys, it's not just WISSOTA, right? Right? WISSOTA racers, it's not just WISSOTA. This shit happens everywhere. It's crazy. Great for Brad Miller. Great for him. Congrats. That's a big win. But
yeah,
man, oh man, it just makes you shake your head. Anything else, Bert?
No, that's all that I have.
Any quick who's hot, who's not?
Well, I mentioned Troy being nationally. I'll say Carson Macedo. He got a win down in Wilmot, and I believe he was second in the other race at Wilmot. So he had a good week. And Hodenschild, I thought he was going to do it at Beaver Dam. He was coming back, and then he hit a rut or something. He hit the cushion too hard or something, and he just faded at the rest of the race.
He found out we all picked him and said, screw them guys. That's kind of what happened. All right, Coach, rapid fire. What do you got?
Just one, Ryan. Yeah, I got to give a plug out. $1,000 to win with WISSOTA Modifieds this Saturday night, Viking Speedway. It was normally the Moonshine Montour, Ryan Burt. Obviously, you know that did not happen this year. But we are going to stick with a WISSOTA Modified special this week. So 1,000 to win is going to end up being 100 to start. So really good purse. As usual, drivers are always free. So come on down to Viking Speedway on Saturday night. I'm going to hop into my hot and not. Got to go with Turbo. You have to go with Turbo. Heck of a performance, mopping up on those guys out there. I think he basically forced Jason Fager to stop running the deal because, Jason doesn't really travel. He doesn't want to get to Michigan, Arkansas, or wherever they went. So I think he just basically forced him to quit. So, and then locally, I got to go Maria Brokesick. A couple wins Saturday and Sunday. I know she got 7th on Friday, but Street Stock Tour is heading her way this weekend. Going to be really interesting to see how she can do. So hopefully she can hold her ground out there and have a good weekend.
Last lap pass at Casino too. Last lap pass for the win. That was a good race.
Yes. Who's not? I'm going both the Adams, Buzzy and Blake. Buzzy's got 10 wins on the year. He's got 1 since June 14th. And Blake Adams only has 1 win since he's been DQ'd. So I don't know. Maybe
2.
Does he have 2 now?
2. He won back to back the first 2 nights after that.
So, but he hasn't done that. And it's been a few weeks. So, if I'm Blake, you better go find car counts right now, and get your shows in. You better be getting full shows in right now. I think that's going to be the key for him, especially when you get down the line. You know how it is, Ryan. You got to have the points, and I don't know. Maybe Buzzy's more focused on his kid, and he's leading national points. So I think he's got to get her going. But that's my not hot. And then I got to go Nick Hoffman. He had an opportunity here, guys, to run down Brandon Shepard and get that point lead and maybe get some confidence and maybe run away with it. He hasn't been able to do that. I mean, he's been okay, but inconsistent. He had some bad luck there. I know he had a flat tire one night, has had some bad luck, but maybe that, Pierce chasing him down is putting some pressure on him. Obviously Bishop's been better. So I think Nick Hoffman, he's had a chance. I think some guys picked him to maybe upset and win the title this year. So he's got to get her going. And like I said, we want a 3-car battle going into Charlotte.
Well, you talk about Buzzy, and let's not forget, Buzzy's my boy. There is not many bigger Buzzy Adams fans than me, but he's leading in Grand Rapids on Thursday, and literally, maybe he broke something. I don't know. Okay, I don't know. Maybe he broke something, but from the looks of it, he ran out of talent on a restart and literally jumped the cushion and spun out. And I'm like, Nick Anveling don't do that often. Buzzy don't do that often. I'm going to just go with he had to have broke something, but holy shit, right? And then at Menominee, he's in second, right? With I think a green-white checkered finish. And he's in second. Shane Halapka's leading. I'm like, this is going to get good. You know what he did? Instead of battling for the lead, he let Kennedy Swan drive by him like his shit was broke on the restart. I'm like, oh boy. So yeah, Buzzy on the not hot list. You got to get it together there, 40. All right. I'm going to go. I got a couple things. So Dakota Classic Mod Tour just wrapped up here this past week. It was kind of a pretty sweet deal. I mean, car counts aren't what they were nowhere. I mean, they aren't anywhere, but I mean, they averaged right around 50 modifieds, and they averaged right around 30 IMCA stock cars. Pretty cool deal out there. So they had one thing that I do like about IMCA as compared to WISSOTA is you can draw from such a wide area. They had drivers from 12 states and 2 provinces. You don't get that in WISSOTA. That's not a thing. WISSOTA is just not that big. So as a race fan, that's kind of cool. Ethan Braxmo was your modified champion, and Cameron Starry from Corpus Christi, Texas, was the stock car champion. So pretty cool deal. Something to keep an eye on. I know we got some people in WISSOTA country. Oh, IMCA stocks. This is a good deal. I mean, the Dakota Classic Mod Tour used to be WISSOTA. I miss it being WISSOTA, but there's not a lot of WISSOTA out there. But that's always a really, really fun series to watch. So something to keep an eye on for next year. The next thing here is buggy, right? We'll talk about the buggies. The World of Outlaws right now, the points, you literally have 4 drivers right now within 100 points. David Gravel, Donnie Schatz, Macedo, and Hot Sauce Giovanni Selzy within 100 points right now with a point lead. I believe, and I could be wrong, so they're going to Eldora this week. They go to Attica on Tuesday, then they got 2 nights at Eldora for high limits, 2 nights for World of Outlaws, $100,000 to win. I think it's $175,000 to win for the Kings Royal. I believe the exclusivity deal is still off for the World of Outlaw sprint cars. So I'm assuming that you're going to have all the Woo sprints and high limit sprints racing at all of these shows, which is just good. If you're a sprint car fan, that is just good. So you got some really, really good sprint car action coming up this week. XR Super Series, they're going to Clay County Raceway on Sunday, kind of following up after after Huset's, and then they go to Davenport next week as well. So Barry Braun doing a pretty cool deal. You guys remember they had some pretty bad floods out there. I mean, shit got really, really messed up over there. Well, Sunday they have the race at Clay County Speedway, and he put a deal out. If you have a any ID, driver's license or whatever, that you're from Spencer, Iowa, anybody from Spencer, Iowa, 100% of them get in free to that event. It's kind of a cool little gesture he does for, he does some pretty cool things like that. So tip of the cap to Barry. KRA Speedway, guys. So they don't get a lot of love. We don't talk about Wilmer very often, but if you're a Wissota Street Stock fan, Kraus, is there a better track in Wissota right now that sees more competition on a weekly basis? Listen to your top 5 Thursday. Keith Tourville, Braden Brower, Justin Vogel, Colton Brower, Ty Agan. Guys, that's weekly. I mean, they literally get a who's who of Wissota Street Stocks on a Thursday night every single week. If you're a Wissota Street Stock fan, that right there, that is must see. Most of the races, a lot of them are on Dirt Race Central. Try to get over to that place, but if you're a Street Stock fan, that's pretty cool to see on a Thursday night. I want to give a shout out here to a kid from up in Hibbing, Trenton Beal. First career win in the Wissota Hornet division. I think they had over 20 cars, 23, 24 cars up there. They get a pretty good field. He's been at it now for a couple of years, but congratulations to him on his first career win. So, Kraus, pure stocks at Wilmer, Montevideo, and Madison have the same rules. They're not Wissota, but they have the track rules pure stocks. Colton Schuler has 17 wins in 18 races. He got DQ'd in one. I don't know if it was for being light or what happened, but Colton Schuler, other than one DQ, is undefeated, 17 wins. That's impressive. That's impressive. I might have to kind of tune into a couple of these tracks to see that kid. Might be time to move up to the Street Stocks next year. Don't know what his budget is. Zach Reinke, 3 wins on the week. Pretty good weekend there for Zach Reinke in the Midwest Mods. Tyler Peterson with a pair. I want to give a shout out to my buddy Harry Hansen, the old legend, getting her done. He got the win up in Proctor Sunday night. Harry, wins aren't coming quite as plentiful as they used to in the past, so it's always good for the racing world seeing Harry Hansen get a win. And Trevor Anderson getting a win at Casino. That one's been a long time coming as well. Also here, we're not going to get into necessarily who to watch right now, but on the hot list, right? On the local level, on the hot list, I mean, Peterson's been good. Shane Zabrowski really, really heating up right now. Really heating up with that late model. He's going to be super fun to watch. They got a hell of a battle right now in the national points. Dexton Cook has been extremely hot. I'm going to stick with Devin Moran. I mean, Devin Moran, I don't know. Kraus, don't even tell me. I don't know what he did tonight, but god dang, he's been in the front every single night. He has been on fire. We talk about Pierce low-lying fruit, of course. But on the not hot list, I got a couple. Pat Dorr, non-existent. I don't understand. I mean, I think what he needs to do is take that new car that he has, cut it up, sell it for scrap, go back to the old one, because he has been it's Pat Dorr. I mean, he's arguably one of the best Wissota late model drivers to ever sit in a seat, and he has been a complete non-factor all year. I mean, you want to talk about losing confidence and getting frustrated? I can't imagine being him. I talked to Burdick's wife, and she's like, man, that 30 car's not been good. I'm like, imagine being Pat Dorr. And she's like, yeah, there's that. So Dorr has been on the struggle bus. And I'm going to I got to go with the One to Go Show team, right? 29 star. Right, I got to go with old Coach Kraus. Can't find Victory Lane. The Dulciex, got to find Victory Lane. You guys staying on the not hot list till you finally get a win. So that's who I have. Now let's jump into our next segment here, which is the 2024 Weekly Pick'em segment, brought to you by Brad Parsons Soil and Ag Solution. If you're in Western Minnesota, the Dakotas, and you're looking to have a better farming season, you want higher yields, make more money, get the right stuff in your spray packages. I actually have a good friend of mine, Joel Collins. He's tested his stuff. He said it's unbelievable, super happy, absolutely very, very happy that he actually took some time and tested some of this stuff out. So, You can maybe, if you know Joel, get a hold of him. But give Brad a call, 320-219-3542, and learn about the products they have that can make your farming experience better. You put more money in your pocket. He knows a lot more about it than me, so give him a call. All right, last week, boys, the old 71A here leading the way. Well, I'll probably go from 0 to 0. It's kind of what happens in this deal. But I had plus 19 on the week. Bert, you and Changa, plus 17. I'm trying to track down Changa. That's not happening very quickly, only getting 2 on him. Man Bun Dan and the Uper, plus 15. I skipped Worker B, who was plus 16. Coach, plus 13. Bromance, plus 11. Dano, plus 10. Rainman, plus 9. And Kenny the Barber Beefcake. What are you doing there, guy? Plus 6. Plus 6. How can we possibly pick that many races and you only get 6 points? Beefcake, get it together. Get it together. So our standings right now, Rainman Curtis right now still at 213. But guys, get this. He did not pick Bobby Pierce one time last week. One time. I thought he was good at this deal. I don't know what that was great. I was happy to see that, right? But that was a surprise. So thank you, Curtis, for not picking Pierce last week. That helped out a bunch. Changa at 202, 71A at 187, Bert at 171, Worker B and Dano at 166, the Uper at 155. Oh, I got Bert. Bert, you're at 171. Worker B and Dano at 166, Uper at 155, Coach at 150, Man Bun Dan 144, Bromance at 137, and Beefcake at 135. Now, when he inherited this spot, he was in third and he dropped the anchor. So not hot list for Beefcake right here. Not hot for sure. So this week's events, boys. I will name off the events, quickly say who we got. We're going to pick a bunch of races, and it's a good opportunity to give a little bit of love to some of these races that are happening. If you're a big race fan, you want to be able to watch some stuff. 410 sprint cars this week. Tuesday, they race at Attica. Wednesday and Thursday, high limit sprint cars at Eldora. Friday, Saturday, World of Outlaw sprint cars at Eldora. So Attica, Eldora, 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 Eldora. Bert, who do you have for the buggies?
Macedo, Gravel, Larson.
Coach?
Gravel, Shots, Macedo, Larson, Courtney.
I have Sheldon Hottenchild, Schuhart, Shots, Sweet, Schuhart. That's who I have. So we're all different this weekend on the buggy. So it's going to be interesting. Somebody's going to make something happen. Lucas Oil Dirt Late Model. So they're racing tonight. It's Monday. Race is probably already done. So Monday at Eagle, Tuesday at Shelby County, Thursday, Friday, Saturday at Huset's. Bert.
Superman, Huddy, T-Mac, Pierce, RTJ.
Completely different all the way through. All right, Coach.
Moran, Pierce, Moran, Pierce.
Huddy, Moran, Pierce. That's who I have. Huddy, Moran, Pierce. All right, Coach.
You want me to spoil it for you right now, Ryan?
Yep.
You got your 2 points tonight.
Yeah, baby. Come on. All right. Huddy got her done. Blue 71. How can you not be a fan? Can you not be a fan?
Huddy, RTJ, Davenport was the top 3. I don't know where Moran was. There was a couple interesting events that happened. Really good race, actually.
Okay.
So you guys have to rewatch it.
Yeah, we'll take a peek for sure. USMTS Modifieds, Thursday at Fairmont. Friday, Saturday, Sunday at Mason City. Bert?
Tim Chisholm, Tim.
Coach?
Jake Tim, Jim Chisholm, Sanders.
We're really close, Cross. We're really close. I have Jake Tim, Jim Chisholm, Jake O'Neal to win the big one. IMCA stock cars at 141, 10,000 a win. King of the Creek. The finale Wednesday night on Flow. Bert, who do you got?
Benji, Lacrosse.
I got Cole Zarneski as of right now, but are we going to be able to change our pick up until draw cutoff? Is that?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. I don't know if any of the, is Grabowski's hot right now. Is he going to show up? Who's going to show up out there? You don't know.
Yeah, we can up until race time on Tuesday for the prelims, we can change our pick. I'm sticking with who I got. I went with what Bert has, Benji Lacrosse's. He got second there last year. I mean, he's tough to beat at 141. Wasota Late Model Challenge Series, Friday, the Twin 25s at the Gondiklah Speedway. We're picking the first Twin 25, not the second one because it's an invert deal. Saturday, month of money, 5,000 to win at the Cedar Lake Speedway, and Sunday at the Granite City Motor Park. Bert, what say you?
Daryl Nelson, Demo, and TPO.
Daryl Nelson, Demo, TPO. Okay.
I got Sabraski, Mars, Searing.
Again, we're close, Kraus. I have Sabraski, Searing. So no disrespect to TPO, but Searing could have won 4. You could have went 4 for 4 on that last swing if not for some bad luck. All right. Dakota Rumble at Brown County, which is essentially, it's an NLRA show both nights. You're going to have most of the South Dakota cars except for Cole Searing, who will be on the Challenge Series. Friday and Saturday, Dakota Rumble. Bert.
Chase Gelling and Chad Becker.
Okay.
Chad Becker both nights.
Well, I wanted to pick Skorcheski both nights, but I don't want to jinx my boy, so I'm taking Chad Becker, Scott Ward. Remember, Scott Ward was pretty freaking fast that last swing they had out there. XR Super Series, Clay County, Sunday. Bert.
Ryan Gustin. I don't know who's going to be there. I looked at all these schedules and nobody has it on their schedule.
The Bobby Pierce. Pierce has got it on his, Bert. I looked today.
It wasn't on there when I looked.
It was on.
Well,
there
you should
when
look
I looked.
again.
It was on there when I looked. That's who I have as well. I got Pierce. Yep. Yeah. So you must have jumped the gun. That's what happens when you don't procrastinate. You get your shit done right away. You miss out on things like that. All right, Dirt Race Central Street Stock Tour. So tune in. That's some pretty darn good racing. Friday, Brown County Speedway. Saturday, Brown County Speedway, and Sunday at the Casino Speedway in Watertown. Bert.
Kyle Anderson, Egan.
Coach.
Justin Vogel, Braden Brower, Maria Broksick.
And I went Kyle Anderson, Kyle Dykoff to win at Casino. 1,000 to win Wasota Modified Special at the High Flying Half Mile Viking Speedway, Alexandria, Minnesota. Bert.
I have no idea who to take for this one, so I'm taking Jason Thonies.
Yeah, we'll go with Thonies. We'll go with tennis.
It's Thonies now.
It's Thonies, yeah. All right.
I'm going to call them Thonies.
It is.
Bert, I'm going to call them Thonies at the pit meeting just for you.
How is it pronounced?
Tennis.
Okay.
He parks next to Kraus, by the way. He's kind of he's a neighbor to him there. All right, Kraus, who do you got?
That's a good pick, Bert. That's actually a really good pick, Bert. I mean, he's one of the all-time mod greats at Viking. So I took Brady Gertis.
That's what I got too. Can't go wrong with that blue car. That thing's a hot rod. I'm going Brady Gertis as well. Schaefer's Oil Southern Nationals Late Models, Tuesday at I-75 Sweetwater, Tennessee. Thursday at Sonoy, Georgia. Friday at East Alabama. Saturday at Screven. And Sunday at Swainsboro.
McDowell, Madden, Overton.
Kraus?
I took Dale McDowell all 5 nights.
I have exactly what Bert has. McDowell, Madden, Overton. So you're not gaining anything on me there. We might gain on others or we might lose, but all right.
Is Overton going to have a car ready? Is he going to get her fixed? Does he have another one? What's going on there?
He raced yesterday.
Oh, did he? I didn't think he did.
Yeah, he was there. I don't know if he won or not. He might have won even, right? But
No, McDowell won last night.
McDowell won.
Ricky got second. Madden, I believe, got third. I don't know where Overton was. I know Bloomquist lost a couple spots on a restart and then just pulled in like he normally does. So
right. So here's a couple other races to keep an eye on this week. We're not picking them, but just to give you a couple, I'd like to give a shout out to a couple specials. So Friday, if you're in the area, Fiesta City Speedway, Montevideo, Minnesota, $3,000 to win. Timmy Ims, I think it's Timmy Ims or Timmy Ims Memorial. That's a pretty big. They're gonna have some pretty good hot rods over there at Fiesta City. Also Friday, Jim Falls, Eagle Valley Speedway, the Kyle Runkle Memorial. That's a pretty good paying deal for the B mods as well. Saturday, Midwest Mods, the Midwest Mod version of the Golden Hammer at the Devil's Playground, Devil's Lake, North Dakota. And Saturday, Plymouth, Eastern Wisconsin, they have looks like another Super 6 late model event up there. Bert, is that the last one of the series, or do they have one more after that? Do you know?
I do not know. It seems like they've had 6 already.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It seems like they had a lot of rainouts, so I'm not sure what
Yeah.
they're going. So we'll get into our last segment here, boys. Our 3 bold predictions brought to you by the editor to our show there, Coach Kraus.
Yes, elevate-visual.com video productions. Make sure you need any drone work done, any video work done. Get a hold of Brandon there. He's got a Facebook page. He did a great job on the Dakota Mod Tour. He does all the production for that, does production for Viking, Wissota 100. He does the Boone Super Nationals. So make sure you need any video work done, you're a realtor, get a hold of Brandon at elevate-visual.com.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Brandon. So we had a few come off the board. So every week we make 3 racing related predictions, either something that can happen, didn't happen, and we keep track of just how, we suck at this. As collectively, we're terrible at this. It's almost embarrassing how bad we are at this over the course of the year. I get it. We're trying to be bold, but we are really, really terrible. And I think I'm about the worst at this deal. So Bert, you had 2 come off the board this week. You said Jim Chisholm would have 3 podiums and a win this weekend at Mod Wars. It did not happen. But you did say this. You said the Dakota Classic Mod Tour I think he has it down that you said this, but between the mods and stock cars, there'd be 5 different winners, and that did happen. There was 7 different winners. TVJ doubled up, but out of the 8 features this past week, there was 7. So a lot of parity there. Good job on that. I had one come off the board. I said 3 of the top 5, and I said, first of all, a rookie would win one of the Waleski Memorial races, which did happen. That was Shane Sobraski. But I also parlayed that with 3 of the top 5 at Hibbing would be a 525 crate, and I think it might have been 0 for 5. So that did not work out very well for me. So that was a big no. Coach, you had one come off the board. You said 6 different podium drivers at the Prelude to the Tommy and the Tom Waleski Memorial. Think you got that one right or no?
Trying to think. You're making me I had to be really close. Who doubled up?
Well, at Hibbing, you had Shane. So at Hibbing, it was Shane Sobraski, Daryl Nelson, Tyler Peterson. At Grand Rapids, it was Skeeter Esty, Jeff Provenzino, and Kyle Peterlin. So you got that one spot on. Good job. The Uper had 3 come off the board. He said Hudson O'Neal would go to SSI and parlayed that with RTJ would take over the Rumley ride. That did not happen. He went to Kaler. Mod Wars, he said there'd be 3 different winners representing 3 different chassis builders, and Jake O'Neill doubled up, so he got that wrong. And he said a local driver would win the Tom Waleski Memorial, and that did not happen. That was the old Iron Man, Shane Sobraski. The Peanut Gallery, specifically Beefcake, had 2 come off the board. He said 3 of 4 of the Dakota Mod Tour nights between the Streeters and whatnot, the Streeters and the IMCA mods, 3 of the 4 nights would be won by the driver leading points going into the night. And no, TBJ won 2 this week, and well, he didn't even make the show at one of them last week, so he was not the point leader. So that one was a no. And then he said, this was a really, really bold prediction. He said USMTS mods, all 3 nights would have different drivers on the podiums. So 9 different podium drivers, and no, sir, that did not happen. So our standings right now, we keep track of ones that we got correct and correct percentages, and leading the way in both categories here, the Uper, 19 correct and 30.2 incorrect. Kraus, you're at 14 correct. Peanut Gallery and Bird at 13. I'm at 9. like we're fucking halfway through the year and I only got 9 predictions right. I am terrible at this deal. Now I will say this. So Bert, you have 7 still on the board and Kraus has 5 and the Uper has 8. I have 29 that are still sitting out there, right? That are going to happen. So either my percentage is going to get even worse or I'm going to have some shit happen here. So I have a lot that I kind of pushed out just a little bit. So we'll see what happens. But Uper getting her done right now. So let's make 3 laps around the track. Bert, we're going to start with you. We'll go to Kraus. Then we got the Uper, Beefcake, and myself. So what is your first prediction, Bert?
I'm going Lucas late models of the 6 races. There will be at least 5 different winners.
Repeat that?
At least 5 different winners for the Lucas Oil late model series out of the 6 races.
They have 6 races or 5?
Just 5 races, Bert.
Oh, well then it's 4 out of 5.
All right. 4 out of 5. You want to go with 4 out of 5 or 80%? You want to do that?
80. Okay, yeah, 80%. That's fine.
So 80% or 4 out of 5, which would be 80%. Just in case of some rainouts, there got to have obviously 2 or 3 to make that count. All right, Coach Kraus.
Well, Bert, I got to one up you because you're never bold enough. I'm going 5 for 5, Bert. I got it written down right here. Lucas, 5 different winners. So I'm going 5 for 5 or 100%.
You're going to go 100% parity. There's nobody doubling up in Lucas Oil this week. All right. So we got the Uper's first prediction here. He says World of Outlaw drivers get 75% of total of Woo and high limit podiums this week. Okay, so this is Eldora, World of Outlaw, and high limit sprint cars. So this would be, and it's not just Eldora, it's Attica. So there's 5 410 sprint car races between 1 at Attica and 4 at Eldora. 75% of the podiums will be World of Outlaw drivers. Okay. 75% World of Outlaw. All right. Little domination by the Woo guys there. Beefcake, Dirt Race Central Street Stock Tour. 3 different. This is bold, Kraus. I mean, you got to love the guy. He's bold. 3 different winners, 9 different podiums. 3 different winners, 9 different podiums in the 3 Dirt Race Central Street Stock Tour events this week. So my first one, it looks like I started off pretty good here, boys. Hudson O'Neal going to have a better average finish than RTJ this week in Lucas Oil Dirt Late Model action. Hudson O'Neal, better average finish than RTJ. Did you say RTJ? What did he get? Second, third? What did he get?
Second.
Yeah, so I mean, it's still tight, right? But Huddy's going to have a better average finish than RTJ. All right, Bert, your second prediction.
I'm going to go King of the Creek at 141 and say the podium will be all Wisconsin drivers.
All Wisconsin drivers at the King of the Creek in IMCA stock car action at 141. All right. Pretty good odds. Coach Kraus.
We're going Southern Nationals, Schaefer's Oil Southern Nationals. Dale McDowell is going to podium every night and have 3 wins.
Dale McDowell will podium every night and have 3 wins. Okay. That'd be good to see. We're Dale McDowell fans. I mean, his brother's married to one of the Cook girls, right? So that kind of brings it full circle to our area. All right. I am going to go with Uper's next prediction here. There are going to be more late model entries at the Challenge Series races this weekend than there is at the Dakota Rumble. So we're going to average it out. So if you have 3 events, you divide it out by 3 with the Challenge Series, 2 events for Aberdeen. So the average car count, I'm going to guess, well, he has more total late model entries. So I guess that's kind of a gong show. There's 3 freaking races, but I guess a lot of them guys will run the whole thing. So there might more total drivers entering the Challenge Series shows. I guess maybe. I don't know if he's going to get that because the NLRA guys travel pretty well. The Rumble could have pretty good car count down there. So I don't know. But it's kind of a tough deal, right? Because he's going 3 different freaking tracks compared to 1 track. So, all right, more total entries at the Challenge Series races than at the Rumble. All right, that's kind of a bunt, right? Is what that is. I'm going to say that's a bunt, but whatever. It is what it is. Beefcake, his second one. He's going to go Schaefer's Oil Southern Nationals as well. All different winners. All different winners. There will be no repeat winners this week. The 5 races for the Schaefer's Oil Southern Nationals. All right, I kind of got sniped with the Woo having more podiums than High Limit at Eldora. I kind of got sniped, so I'm not going to do that one. But I'll go USMTS. The USMTS point lead after this week, there's 4 events this week, is going to be down to single digits. Right now it's 31. But one way or the other, whoever's leading the points after this week, it's going to be a single-digit point lead after this week. Things are going to get dicey in the USMTS modifieds. All right, Bert, your third and final lapper on the track.
I disagree because USMTS action, Tim will podium all 4 races. Well, every race that's raced. So if there's rainouts, every race that's raced, he'll be on the podium.
Well, I hope you're right. I'm kind of cheering for old Jake Tim. He's a Minnesota guy. I'm proud of you, Bert. I'm proud of your Minnesota loyalty there. I don't know what. Good job. Way to go. About time. All right, Coach. Your third and final lapper on the track.
Well, we're going to kind of go with what Kenny the Barber Beefcake went there. But we're going over to the Wissota Challenge Series. We're going 9 out of 9 different podiums. So I think it's got a good chance to happen in Gondik. Then you go to Cedar. Then you go to Granite City, which is wide open. So I think there's a good chance. It'd be great to see. I love seeing parity. And so we're going 9 out of 9 podiums this weekend on the Wissota Challenge Series.
3 completely different racetracks, but that's bold. That's why our numbers are way down and we suck at this deal because we're definitely bold. All right. Uper's third and final prediction. Well, I don't think I can give him this one, so he only gets 2 this week, unless you guys decide if we can both have the same one. Because his third one here that he just texted me, Hudson O'Neal has a better average finish than RTJ.
Too late.
Yeah, too late. I mean, he got his stuff in way late here. So the Uper only gets 2. That one doesn't count for him. So he's only 2 for the Uper this week. All right, Beefcake, his third and final one. Viking Speedway 1,000 to win mod special Saturday night. These 3 drivers will be on the podium. Jason Thones. Jason Thones. All right. Brady Gertis and Dusty Bitson. Pretty good odds. There were 3 good hot rods there at Alexandria. And my third and final prediction is going to be Wissota Challenge Series, Wissota Late Model Challenge Series. Cole Searing will have a better average finish than Tyler Peterson, and he will have at least 2 podiums and at least 1 win on the week. So Searing, not quite the week he was. Glad he came over. I mean, super happy he came over to Rapids and Hibbing didn't work out. Kind of a rough couple nights, but he's going to rebound. That's what he does. So Cole Searing, a better average finish than Tyler Peterson with at least 2 podiums and at least 1 win over the 3 nights. Now, for the record, the second feature of the Twin 25s does not count. Okay, that's an invert, that's a novelty deal. The Challenge Series, that's not even a Challenge Series points. So it's the first feature at the Twin 25s, Cedar Lake and Granite City. Those are the 3 races that count. So plans for this week, boys, before we jump off. Bert, you going racing? You going to Shawano? What do you got going on this week?
I'll probably be going to Shawano. I have the grandkids this weekend, so it's gonna be a little crazy this weekend. But they like to go to the races, so we'll probably go to Shawano. And at Shawano, it's Halloween night in the summer, so kids can dress up in costumes, and drivers are ask to bring candy so then the kids can go trick-or-treating after the races are over.
Nice. Always good to do stuff for the kids. Coach Kraus, you gonna put an ass kicking on the boys at Viking this week?
That's the plan. Weather looks great up here this weekend, which is great. About 80, 82 pretty much all week long. We had some rains today, and hopefully that's going to subside and we can get some racing in up here. So yeah, that's just the plan. Get ready for Saturday and have a great night at the big high flying half mile.
Well, good luck to you. Hopefully we can see that thing get in victory lane. Myself, I don't know. I've been stranded out here for a while, but I get to get rolling tomorrow. Not sure where I'm going, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what the week brings. So thanks everybody for tuning into the show. Support our great sponsors. Get out to a racetrack. Bring a friend. If you can't get out there, jump on our favorite streaming platform, of course, Dirt Race Central, because that's pretty much all the WISSOTA stuff. But pick one. There's a lot of great ones out there. So if you're not, and support the sponsors of racing, right? Look, when you go to a racetrack, look at all the sponsors at the racetrack. Look at the sponsors on the race cars. If you got to do something with a business, whatever it is, try to stick within the racing community. That really helps out the sport a lot. So again, thanks for tuning into the show. I'm Ryan. That's Bert. That's Coach. Thanks for tuning into the One to Go Show.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Hope you enjoyed the show. If you did, please leave a review and subscribe. It is Puka. And Goat Sports has another show out there by podcast, Facebook, and YouTube. It's the Tea with Miss McGill show. Covers hockey, high school hockey in northern Minnesota. So if you're into hockey, you can find us on podcast under Tea with Miss McGill. You can find us on YouTube or Facebook, Goat Sports Media LLC. Yours truly and Coach Reed Larson. We break it down every week. We also do some interesting interviews. We'd love to have you. So tell your friends, tell your enemies, and we'll catch you next week.